why so many young men are leaving the Democrats for the Republicans in 2024. Why is that? Because the left-wing Democrats embraced feminism years ago. They embraced man-hatred years ago. And it's become so severe now that young men are running to the Republicans hoping to reserve some kind of self-respect. That's it in a nutshell. Okay? Now, I even asked, is the left wing more feminist than the right wing? And the answer here was, I don't think I've ever met a right wing feminist. In fact, women in the right wing are quick to tell you they are not feminist, which is false. Which is false. What it is the right wing feminists are tradwives. They want to use men. The left wing women want to reject men altogether, but the right wing feminists want to use them and then discard them, right? Then discard these guys when they feel like it. Divorce has not disappeared on the right wing. So, but the thing is, young guys think that there's a difference. It looks like the Republicans might be better to them. So they're rushing over to the Republicans, right? So we know what it is. That is it in a nutshell, but we'll hear this.
In 2008, 58% of young people leaned Democratic. 2012, 53%. And in the last two major election years, that percentage held steady at 55%. But in 2023, that number dipped below 50% for the first time since 2005. And you'll notice right here, they've started to lean more Republican. And that's partly because of one specific group: young men. Young men.
Why young men, right? Because the older men joined up when the feminist wasn't so severe. They took all the barbs and arrows and the cries of misogyny back in the day and withstood it and said, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have women around me. But these young guys that got so severe, they just can't stand the heat anymore. That's it in a nutshell.
Have increased their support of the Republican Party from 35% to 48%, a 13 percentage point increase in just 7 years. And
in just 7 years, that's interesting, right? And they're saying 2023. What was 7 years ago? 2016. I remember my prime minister, Justin Trudeau, famously said, hey, it's 2016. In other words, men are going to be disrespected. Feminism is here. Women's desire to dominate men and abuse men, it's here to stay, dude. So strange. It happened in 2016, right? That's when Ghostbusters came out. The one all-female Ghostbusters came out in 2016. And 7 years later, all the young guys just can't take the oven anymore. They're trying to escape.
This is a new trend. While 2020 exit polls show that young men backed Biden by 15 percentage points.
But this isn't a new trend. Women bashing men has been around since the dawn of time. And now the masks are coming off. That's what's happening.
A February 2024 Wall Street Journal poll found they favored Trump by 14 percentage points. And this loss of young male voters is a major issue for the Democratic Party going into November. The question now, can Kamala Harris bring some back?
No, because Kamala Harris, by the way, she's an incompetent. The only reason she was brought in because they wanted the black female vote. Female vote. See, Barack Obama isn't good enough. It's not enough to be black. It's got to be a woman, right? So she was a product of nepotism, right? And her concerns are going to be female concerns. She has nothing to say about the wars that are going on in the exterior of the country. She's only going to be concerned about what's going on in her country for her and her female voters. That's why.
Here's what's driving young men to support Republicans and what it could mean for the presidential election to come.
America great again.
When we ask young voters, what issue is most important to you?
when you go to cast a vote. Among young men, it's the economy. Among young women, it's abortion.
There you go. There you go. Why is that so? Because economy just means translation. Can I have a high paying, high status job as a man to bribe a woman into my life? When the economy is bad, men are single. It's that simple. What are women considered for? Abortion rights, which is actually not a right, but a privilege of life and death over the newborn person. They want power. It's a power grab. That's what abortion is. And notice how big abortion is. That's what the average woman is thinking about. She doesn't really care about democracy or inflation or immigration or economy. Those are men's problems. Those are men's problems. Men have to make things work. Women's sole desire is, well, that anti-right-wing, anti-ideology. In other words, these right-wingers don't know their place. But the only thing that, besides that, is the abortion by a mile. Why? Because again, the women aren't there to look after the country. They're there to look after themselves. And looking after themselves is gaining power in society. It's not taking care of the rent or anything like any basic need. They've got all their basic needs taken care of. They want power.
17% of men say the economy is the most important issue, followed by democracy and immigration. Whereas for young women,
Notice immigration too, right? Immigration means competition from foreign men. That's why young men are worried about it. They worry, I want a high-paying job, so I want the economy to be good, and I want as few men to compete with as possible. All to get these women that I want in my life who only care about themselves and having power over other people.
top issue is abortion, by a lot.
Why is this happening? Well, we put the reasons into two different buckets. One is the life experiences that young men and young women are having. Those life experiences are diverging.
Young men without a
No, they've always been different. They've always been totally different. They're not diverging, they are diverse.
college degree have seen the greatest decline in labor force participation. Meanwhile, a record 87% of college-educated women are in the workforce. And today, women...
Exactly. So men are being ousted to give these women free rides. It's that simple. I've proven that in earlier videos. So they kick men out of any positions, out of abuse, and a desire of sadism against men. Then they'll only shack up with men who can afford to bribe them. And the men can't afford it. There you go.
Women make up 60% of college graduates.
This division that we're seeing between young men and young women, it goes beyond who they're going to vote for Congress or president. It goes to a range of policy issues. So then let's look at what the government is offering. The Biden administration has moved to forgive federally funded student loans. That affects young women more than young men.
Exactly. I can't remember what's her name, Ellis, something. You see her on YouTube anyway, but a young gal who, of course, complained about this. Why do they want debt? What it is, these women kick men out of university, take their spots, getting into education that doesn't get them a job because they're never worried about it. They're not worried about the economy. Then when they get out, they want their debt wiped free. And then they find the man to shack up with who will take care of them. Do you see how destructive this is? Who's going to do that for them? And then they'll say, hey, men are failing. Where are all those rich men I want to shack up with? All those six-figured men that I kicked out of university, right? But as I'm pointing out, the Democrats don't care about the young men. They're looking after young women who are always looked after anyway.
During the 2019-2020 school year, 49% of female undergraduate students took out loans, compared to only 42% of male undergraduates.
Yeah, guys have to think about it. Can I afford this loan? The girls don't give a shit. It's never their problem in the end. Hey guys, how many of these women shack up with a guy and he's so grateful that she said yes that he pays off her debt? It happens all the time, doesn't it?
And 66% of all student debt is carried by women.
There you go. The women drive the debt, right? And of course, what does Biden and the crew want to do? Forget that debt. So what's going to happen? The taxes are going to soar. The men are going to have to pay some way for these women's free ride.
Young women favored forgiving student loans by 45 percentage points. The young men were about equally divided. I mean, that's a big difference.
Meanwhile, young men support extending Trump's tax cuts by 23 percentage points, which cut the corporate tax rate and reduced some individual income tax.
See, like they're so desperate. The corporate tax rate. These guys aren't corporations, they're individuals. But there might be some crumbs for them. So they're doing anything and everything they can to gain a few more bucks.
And now, because of our tax cuts, you can keep more of your hard-earned money.
But women oppose the proposed extension by 20 percentage points, a full 43-point difference.
That's data that goes like this. Young men headed in one direction and young women in the other. That's a big difference. Data does not usually segment young voters that remarkably. This is something new.
Which brings us back to this chart.
And it's only new because the women have kicked men out of universities. How many young guys went to university and were kicked out under a false allegation? How many slots are opened up and said women only, right? And how many guys get there and they get feminist abuse? Like we have to do a gender studies program telling young men that they're garbage for being men. A lot of them just can't stand that, right? Come on. What's new is the mask is off. What's new is society has reached a point where it's so safe and so easy that the women have stopped pretending that they wanted men around. And now their sadism is on full throttle. And they're destroying men just for the enjoyment of it. It's systematic. Of course, the young guys are too, brainwashed, lacking awareness to see what's going on.
22% of young female voters say abortion is their number one issue in this election.
Again, their issue is their own personal problems. They don't give a shit about the economy. They don't give a shit about what's going on outside the world. The average not just feminist, female voter is a solipsist. She doesn't think of anything beyond her immediate needs. There are male troglodytes just like this, but obviously, guys think about the economy. It may be about themselves, but they want to live in a better world. Because in the end, they're the ones that are always, harnessed with the problem solving. These women never have that issue handed to them, so they never think about it.
A key aspect of Harris's campaign.
We trust women to make decisions about their own body.
Yeah, see, that's it. She's a woman talking about women's issues, which is not about running the country. It's not about foreign affairs. Just about what do I want as a person, and let the world burn beyond that. Right. Now, I don't think there's much more to talk about this. I mean, I've said it enough. And we're going to end right here. This is so standard. People treat men like garbage. Men scurry like rats to find some kind of lifeboat, and then people can't figure out why. Well, it's very simple. It's so simple an average IQ guy like me can figure it out. Just that people don't want to know the answer. And we'll end it here.